What if, instead of heroes, the Straw Hats were judged for all the crimes they've committed? Luffy, the charismatic protagonist of One Piece, is loved by many fans for his loyalty, bravery, and his grand dream of becoming the Pirate King. However, if we looked at his actions from a legal perspective, he would undoubtedly be a wanted criminal, arrested, and tried multiple times. Despite his image as a hero and a captivating leader, the captain of the Straw Hats has a criminal record that would rival that of a villain. First of all, Luffy commits countless acts of theft throughout the series. His famous habit of stretching his arms to grab food, money, ships, or anything within reach is, in reality, a crime of qualified theft or armed robbery. Except instead of a conventional weapon, he uses his elastic arm, a result of the Gomu Gomu no Mi. From Fuchsia Village, where he takes food without permission, to raiding ships, his actions constitute serious crimes. In the real world, the police would have arrested him for theft and robbery on multiple occasions. Luffy doesn't act alone. His crew, the Straw Hats, is made up of individuals with extensive and varied criminal records. Zoro, a bounty hunter and swordsman. Nami, a thief and map manipulator. Usopp, a habitual liar. Sanji, with his complicated past. Each of them would be considered a dangerous criminal. Together, they form a criminal organization in the eyes of the authorities, which would already justify action from the world government to shut down the ship and arrest everyone for gang activity. Beyond theft and criminal association, Luffy is officially targeted by the world government, mainly because of his defiant attitude toward authority. He has confronted and humiliated powerful figures like the Marines, Cypher Paul, and even the Shichibukai. Legally, this is conspiracy against government authority, a very serious crime involving sedition and threat to public order. Luffy even kills soldiers and public officials, which makes his case even worse under the law. Another important point is the trail of destruction Luffy leaves wherever he goes. In places like Water 7, Enies Lobby, and Dressrosa, the destruction of buildings, public equipment, marine ships, and even entire cities is massive. In reality, this would count as qualified damage and destruction of public and private property, punishable by heavy fines and long prison sentences. Justice would certainly not be lenient with such chaos. Luffy also stages numerous spectacular prison breaks, like at Barati and Impel Down. His escapes involve prison destruction, riots, and brute force against prison guards. Legally, this counts as resisting arrest, escaping a correctional facility, and assaulting public officials' crimes that would result in even harsher penalties, likely keeping him behind bars longer than he spends sailing the seas. Even without traditional weapons, Luffy's body itself is a lethal weapon thanks to the powers of the Gomu Gomu no Mi. His stretching, explosive, and powerful attacks cause significant damage. Additionally, his crew carries weapons such as swords, guns, and other illegal arms. In a normal marine inspection, they would be cited for illegal possession and use of unauthorized weapons, leading to more charges and imprisonment. Moreover, Luffy's group engages in illicit activities like arms smuggling, illegal prisoner transport, and trafficking of confidential information. In the Dressrosa arc, for example, there is clear evidence of black market manipulation, arms sales, and even human trafficking, with freed prisoners becoming recruits. All of this would not go unnoticed by the law, constituting multiple serious crimes. In everyday life, Luffy's lifestyle is the opposite of that of a law-abiding citizen. He constantly breaks rules, insults authorities, destroys public and private property, and acts as if laws don't exist. This behavior falls under civil disobedience and public disorder crimes that, in the real world, would already justify preventive arrests, fines, and increased surveillance. Imagining Luffy in a real courtroom is funny. With his straw hat and goofy smile, he would probably hear a huge list of charges: theft, criminal association, conspiracy against the government, property destruction, illegal possession of weapons, trafficking, prison escape, and much more. The judge would make sure to hand down a heavy sentence, and the prosecutor would list every crime with severity. Yet, even faced with the seriousness of the charges, the audience and those involved would probably not be able to stay mad at Luffy. His charming personality, contagious dream, and unique way of acting would make people root for him despite everything. If Luffy is the outlaw captain, Zoro is the strong arm of the organization. And my friend, he has so much trouble to account for that you could make an entire anime just about his infractions. Imagine the scene. Police stopped in the street and suddenly a guy appears carrying 3 massive swords, ready to kill anyone in his path. In real life, Zoro would quickly be booked for illegal possession of bladed weapons, and not just any weapons, since his swords are insanely powerful and could easily cause serious damage. Moreover, there's no registration, no license, nothing. Pure, I'm a swordsman and I do what I want style. Zoro doesn't hold back, neither with words nor with his swords. He fights pirates, marines, criminals, and even civilians at times. Remember when he almost massacred a bunch of guys on Fishman Island? The problem is he makes no distinction. Anyone in his way can get hit without mercy. This constitutes multiple attempted homicides in various episodes of the series. In real life, Zoro wouldn't leave the courtroom without a major conviction. As a member of Luffy's crew, Zoro is automatically accused of participating in a criminal organization with numerous crimes against public order. He is not only an active accomplice, but also the armed branch, defending the crew's interests with lethal force. Zoro has already beaten hundreds of Marines, world government agents, and even members of Cypher Paul. In short, he's one of the main people responsible for assaults against law enforcement, which counts as violence against authority. On top of that, he has nearly killed multiple officers in combat, which only worsens his criminal record. In epic battles, Zoro doesn't just destroy his enemies, he also demolishes everything around him. Buildings, ships, war equipment, and sometimes even entire islands. Actions like these would be classified as destruction of public and private property, causing millions in damages to the world government. Don't think Zoro has had easy jail time. He's been part of epic prison breaks, like those at Impeldown and Eni's lobby, helping other prisoners escape. That counts as resisting arrest, aiding an escape, and being part of an armed criminal organization. Zoro isn't just the crew's muscle, he's also a mentor to many allies who fight against the world government. When he trains and encourages others to fight, he's committing the crime of recruiting for an illegal armed group, something that carries no leniency. Now, look at this. Zoro has an unofficial history, one we all know of, using techniques and weapons that would be banned under multiple international conventions. This includes secret techniques, prohibited moves, and even the frequency with which he drinks and causes chaos. It might seem silly, but in the real world, this would count as using banned substances, alcohol while on duty, and practicing illegal martial arts. Okay, this one's kind of funny, but it's worth mentioning. Zoro often hurts himself, whether by getting lost, running into trees, or going through intense training tortures. In the real world, this would be a major concern for authorities, likely leading to charges for self-harm and endangering his own life. It's not a crime, but it would definitely warrant psychological evaluation and possibly hospitalization. Because, messing with your own head isn't normal. Imagine the scene. Zoro standing in front of the judge with that clueless look, while the prosecutor reads the longest criminal record of the crew. The judge looks stern and asks, "Do you understand the severity of your crimes, Mr. Zoro?" And he just replies, "I just wanted to be the best swordsman in the world and not lose more than 3 times to Sanji and food." You might laugh, but the reality is he'd rack up years and years in prison, because with that criminal resume, there's no excuse. Now, we can't talk about Nami without hitting the obvious. She's a professional thief. From the beginning, Nami has a massive record of stealing money, valuable items, and even entire ships, always cool as a cucumber, and with that sly smile on her face. If caught in the real world, she'd be charged with qualified theft plan, deceptive, and involving high-value property. Remember Arlong Park? Nami spent years under the tyrant Arlong's blackmail, right? But later, as part of the crew, she started using similar tactics herself, manipulating people to get what she wants. That counts as extortion, a crime involving financial gain through threats or coercion. She knows exactly how to use pressure to squeeze the most money out of people, always in a clever but calculated way. As part of Luffy's crew, Nami is a direct associate of a high-risk criminal organization. She collaborates with pirates who attack merchant ships, the Marines, and even local governments. Therefore, she's guilty of forming a criminal gang. As a navigator, Nami has access to maps, nautical charts, and secret documents, which she uses to manipulate routes and markets. In Dressrosa, she tampers with information to influence trade and local politics, which counts as document fraud and falsification of official information. This is serious and wouldn't go unnoticed in the real world. Nami doesn't just steal, she also smuggles goods, weapons, and information from one place to another, often without authorization. Smuggling is one of her main illegal activities, putting her squarely in the sights of maritime authorities anywhere. She's skilled at negotiating with corrupt officials, bribing them, and creating schemes to secure the crew's safety and profits. In a real court, Nami would be charged with active and passive corruption, involvement in illicit schemes, and money laundering. During their adventures, Nami sabotages enemy ships navigation systems, and even cities to gain advantages for her group. Sabotage is an extremely serious crime, as it puts lives at risk and threatens national security, or in this case, global security. Nami has been arrested a few times, and when that happens, she doesn't cooperate. She always has a sharp comeback, a ready lie, and an escape plan. In the real world, this counts as resisting arrest and contempt of authority, which makes her legal situation even worse. Nami is the crew's financial expert, using all kinds of tricks to launder illegally obtained money, investing in shady businesses, and creating complex networks to hide the source of her profits. This would make her a suspect for money laundering, a crime with severe penalties. With so many travels and battles, the Straw Hat crew causes a massive environmental impact, destroying ecosystems, polluting oceans, and disregarding marine life. As the navigator, Nami could realistically be held responsible for environmental crimes. Imagine the scene: Nami sitting in the defendant's chair, arms crossed, giving that look of someone who knows she's winning easily. The prosecutor lists an enormous number of crimes, and she just responds with a laugh: "If you don't want to punish me, how about paying me a bonus?" But the reality is, with that record, the court would have no choice: heavy prison time and multi-million-dollar fines. Now, let's see why Usopp would be judged for multiple crimes if there were real justice in the world of One Piece. First, let's be honest. Usopp is the master of lies. He constantly invents stories that fool everyone, from villains to allies. In the real world, this counts as fraud and misrepresentation because he deceives people to gain advantages, whether for support, money, or getting out of trouble. Like everyone else, Usopp is part of Luffy's crew, which already makes him an accomplice in a criminal organization. But what else does he do? He devises plans, sets traps, and creates strategies to help the crew commit crimes. Usopp carries a variety of weapon slingshots with explosive projectiles, special lead bullets, and even homemade bombs. For the authorities, this is illegal possession and use of prohibited weapons, especially since he uses them for stealth attacks and ambushes. Even though he's the most timid, Usopp has tried to kill enemies, sabotaged operations, and attacked ships and people to defend his group. In other words, he's liable for attempted homicide, assault, and qualified property damage. Many of Usopp's attacks involve sabotage of equipment, destruction of ships, and ambushes. To the world government, this counts as maritime terrorism and sabotage crimes with extremely severe penalties. Remember how Usopp often obtains resources for the crew through scams and requests for help based on false stories? This counts as financial fraud and emotional extortion, since he manipulates people to get what he wants. Like the rest of the crew, Usopp never stays in jail for long. He escapes, hides, and fights authorities to continue his pirate life. That counts as resisting arrest and escaping detention. When confronted, Usopp doesn't stay quiet. He talks back, provokes, and challenges law enforcement, which is contempt of authority and civil disobedience. Many times his attacks cause environmental damage, explosions, fires, and harm to ecosystems. Even if unintentional, this would be a serious problem in the real world. Imagine Usopp in front of the judge, nervous, trying to invent an excuse or tell an increasingly absurd story to get away. But there's no escaping it. With all the lies, illegal weapons, sabotage, and participation in a criminal organization, he would face a hefty sentence. Now it's time for our Prince of the Seas, the cook who never misses a chance to save the crew's stomach, Sanji. Sanji doesn't mess around when it comes to fighting. His kicks are devastating, and in many battles, he has caused serious injuries to enemies, marines, and criminals. Therefore, he would be charged with aggravated assault and even attempted homicide. Of course, Sanji is part of the most wanted crew in the world, so he's also an accomplice, an active member of a criminal organization. This one's kind of funny, but in several episodes, Sanji has assaulted his own crewmates over bizarre reasons, like when someone eats his food without permission. In the real world, that might not technically be a crime, but it would definitely cause some serious trouble. Sanji constantly uses his flirtatious charm to manipulate situations, intimidate enemies, and protect his friends, which could be considered threats and coercion. He's participated in multiple escapes, unauthorized rescues, and invasions of world government facilities, which counts as illegal rescue and trespassing. In battles, Sanji has destroyed ships, buildings, and enemy equipment, which is considered aggravated assault and property destruction, even though Sanji's weapons are his body and legs. Using flaming kicks and forbidden techniques could be classified as the use of unconventional weapons, illegal in almost any jurisdiction. Sanji also has a funny but concerning history of showing gender bias in combat. He never hits women, but sometimes his exaggerated sexism is notable. In the real world, he could be held accountable for gender discrimination. Even jokingly, that's not a valid excuse. Sanji often puts himself and his crewmates at risk through impulsive and dangerous actions. This counts as reckless endangerment, crimes involving risk to physical safety. Sanji in front of a judge? He would probably try to seduce the judge to get out of jail, or give an emotional speech about the importance of food in people's lives. But the truth is, with this entire list of crimes, he'd be heading straight to prison and would probably get fined for all the chaos he causes along the way. And don't be fooled by the cute little teddy bear face Chopper has his outlaw side, and his crime list is surprising. Let's check it out. Chopper is a brilliant doctor, but much of his experimentation, treatments, and medicines are done without official authorization, bypassing regulatory authorities. This would count as practicing medicine illegally and unauthorized experimentation on humans and sometimes even animals. Many of the medicines, antidotes, and drugs Chopper uses to heal or enhance his friends are controlled substances in the real world and would require a prescription. He would be liable for illegal possession and use of controlled substances. On some occasions, Chopper's treatments are so invasive they could be considered violations of human rights, especially when he administers medicine without full consent or in extreme situations. As always, being a member of Luffy's crew already makes him an accomplice in an international criminal organization. Despite looking like a cute little bear, Chopper fights and often uses his monster forms, which in the real world could be classified as dangerous or biological weapons. This generates charges for possession of illegal weapons and excessive use of force. Chopper has helped the crew escape from prison multiple times, like at Eni's lobby and Impel Down, which counts as aiding an escape and resisting arrest. As a doctor, Chopper is supposed to follow safety protocols. In many missions, he operates outside these standards, putting the crew at risk. This is disobedience to medical orders and negligence. In some cases, Chopper's methods for fighting diseases or poisons could cause outbreaks or severe side effects, representing a public health risk. Imagine the judge looking at this little bear, trying to understand what kind of outlaw doctor he is. Chopper would probably get nervous, explaining carefully that he just wants to help, but the prosecutor would be full of evidence of his violations. It wouldn't be easy for him to escape a conviction, despite all his charm. After going through the crimes of Luffy, Zoro, Nami, Usopp, Sanji, and Chopper, it's time to talk about the woman who knows too much, Nico Robin. With a dark past, forbidden knowledge, and powers that scare even the bravest, Robin has a list of crimes that would make any court tremble. Ready? Here we go. Robin was part of the Baroque Works organization, considered a terrorist group by the world government. This directly involves her in illegal group activities. She would be charged with criminal association and terrorism. Robin is an archaeologist who studies the poneglyphs artifacts that hold secrets about the world's history and the feared Void Century, information the world government wants to hide at all costs. In the real world, this would count as espionage, disclosure of state secrets, and even crimes against national security. During her journey, Robin has participated in numerous battles, where she caused the deaths of Navy agents, spies, and mercenaries. As such, she would be charged with qualified homicide and attempted homicide. Robin was captured multiple times, including at O'Hara's prison, and always tried to escape, resisting authorities. This constitutes prison escape and resisting arrest. With her powers to make limbs sprout anywhere on her body, Robin uses techniques that could be considered biological or unconventional weapons. Therefore, she could be charged with possession and use of illegal weapons. She traffics prohibited historical knowledge, selling or using this information to gain advantages. This falls under the smuggling of confidential information and commercial espionage. Robin has infiltrated enemy bases, sabotaged government plans, and caused chaos wherever she went. In other words, sabotage and trespassing. Although an archaeologist, her way of recovering historical artifacts could be seen as theft of cultural property, since she acts outside the law to obtain the poneglyphs. Robin is an expert at manipulating people to get what she wants, including spies and officials. This classifies as manipulation and coercion. Like everyone else, Robin is part of the pirate crew, making her an accomplice in acts of piracy. Picture the scene. Robin, seated elegantly and calmly, staring at the judge with a cold smile, knowing she has secrets the world could never hear. Despite her composure, the evidence is overwhelming, and she would certainly face a long sentence, possibly with special penalties for crimes against national security. Now it's time for the mad engineer, the builder of insane machines, and the true Franky Sensei of the seas. Franky, get ready to discover what crimes this mechanical master would face if the real-world court took him in. Let's go. Franky is a cyborg who modified his body with parts and weapons he built himself without any medical or legal authorization. In the real world, this would be considered illegal body modification and unauthorized use of medical devices. Our engineer carries hidden weapons all over his body, from machine guns to rockets and lasers. This is illegal possession and use of prohibited weaponry, a serious crime in any jurisdiction. Franky is known for destroying ships, buildings, and and enemy equipment during battles. This constitutes qualified damage and property destruction. In addition to using weapons, Franky manufactures and sells illegal weapons to criminal groups. Thus, he would be charged with smuggling and illegal arms manufacturing. Like the others, Franky is a full member of Luffy's pirate crew, making him an accomplice in all the crimes committed by the group. He has sabotaged enemy equipment, ships, and systems to ensure the crew's victory. Sabotage is a serious crime, especially in military and maritime contexts. Some of Franky's inventions involve technology considered illegal by the world government. This would put him in the authorities' crosshairs for using prohibited technology. Franky also traffics special parts and advanced technology between islands and groups, which constitutes illegal tech trafficking. Some of his inventions could be used for large-scale attacks, putting lives at risk. This counts as national security violations and terrorism. Like the others, Franky has escaped prisons and resisted authorities on multiple occasions. Imagine the court seeing that giant cyborg full of weapons and explosives. The judge would probably ask him to deactivate the weapons before the hearing started. But with so many crimes, the sentence would be severe, with years in prison and confiscation of his inventions. Now, it's time for the Knight of the Sea, the master of Fishman Karate, and the true heart of the crew, Jinbe. Jinbe is officially a member of the most wanted pirate crew in the world. This already makes him an accomplice in organized crime and piracy. With his mastery of Fishman Karate, Jinbe has caused the deaths of several enemies in combat, including Navy agents and rival pirates. Therefore, he would face charges of qualified homicide and the use of lethal force. In the past, Jinbe was a member of the Revolutionary Army and leader of the Sun Pirates, who fought against the oppression of the world government. This could be interpreted as rebellion against the state and conspiracy. Like his companions, Jinbe has escaped prisons and resisted capture on several occasions. In many situations, Jinbe participated in smuggling operations, whether of people or goods, to support causes or protect allies. This constitutes trafficking and smuggling. He has participated in battles where he sabotaged enemy bases and caused damage to government property. Jinbe has been involved in attacks on Navy ships and other vessels, qualifying as maritime piracy. Although he is a just warrior, Jinbe uses tremendous force that could be considered excessive in several situations. As a fishman, Jinbe has faced prejudice and at times acted in ways that could be seen as discriminatory toward humans. In the real world, this could lead to discrimination lawsuits. His involvement with groups opposing the world government places him under suspicion for subversive activities. Picture the scene. Jinbe, imposing and calm, in front of the court, explaining his actions as defending the weak and fighting for justice. Even so, real-world justice would hardly spare him, given the extensive list of crimes against the state and public order.